Good afternoon. This is Steve Nelson with the National Weather Service in Peachtree City with the weather hazards outlook for the next 7 days beginning November 17th, 2016. This title slide looks a little different than we normally show. This is a picture of our ops area. As of this morning, we just got some new furniture installed and have a new updated layout that better helps us serve customers and protect people from weather emergencies. So we're really excited about this update for our furniture we haven't seen in about 20 or so years. So our current weather headline is wildfires, and if you look on this national incident map, a lot of these maps are usually focused on the western U.S. in the summertime with their wildfires that often happen, especially during drought. And in this time of year, it's actually centered in the southeast U.S., and there's several in Georgia. Type 1 and Type 2 incident teams are in place in some of these areas. And in Georgia, focus in, we actually have 3 that we're looking at, and I'll go into a little more detail about those. It's the fires listed on the screen here. Some are quite large. I've been here in this office for 12 years. I've never seen anything like this, fires this size. I know we talked about this in one of our weekly briefings a month or 2 ago, and it's definitely gotten more substantial since that. So here's some overview of the 3 fires that I listed. The Rough Ridge Fire is the largest. It's currently, as of this morning, 24,765 acres. Containment has gone up. That's good news, to 40%. It was 20 and 30% in the last 7 or 14 days, and we still have a lot of people working on this fire. We're very thankful to have people like that, very dedicated to keeping this fire under control. This is what the image looked like a week or 2 ago. This is pretty active. I think the smoke has gotten a little better. The fire is not quite as active, but it's still burning. It's definitely the wrong time of year for fires. Here in Georgia, a lot of dry fuels on the ground, and some of it's natural, but the drought is definitely not helping anything. So if you want more information on this particular fire, I know the officials, the Forest Service, do a fantastic job updating this every day, whenever they can, and sometimes even on weekends. So if you look at the link here at the bottom and you want more information, especially those towns that are affected by that fire with the smoke, definitely want to check out this page periodically. Another fire that is contained now, 100% contained, is the Rock Mountain Fire, Rabun County. It's technically outside of our forecast area, but we know the smoke will definitely have impacts on a large part of northeast Georgia and into South Carolina. Even East Central Georgia is going to be affected by this fire. So the good news, like I said, even though it's up to almost 8,000 acres, they do have it contained, and unless something new fires up, or we should have it under control. So good news there. And the third one is the Timber Ridge Fire. It's also in Rabun County. It's a little bit further south. It's south of Clayton. This one's much smaller and a little newer, though. This photo was taken last week. It's listed as 888 acres, 20% contained. So another one to keep an eye on. And we're not seeing as much smoke impacts from this because of the size and the amount of fuels smoldering. So I'll show you that here on the next image. So all those URLs, the bottom links are there in the bottom. If you want to rewind this video a little bit further back, you can check out those websites. Alright, so here's a satellite image from a NASA polar orbiting satellite. These are very high quality, high resolution images taken with satellites that fly at a lower altitude. They only come through during the daytime once a day. So this is the image taken yesterday afternoon around this time. You can clearly see, even though we had a lot of clear skies, thankfully, over a lot of Atlanta, the east and north parts of the metro, all the way coming back up to the fire itself, and the Rough Ridge Fire did cause smoke impacts there. It looks like Hall County, even Gwinnett County, Forsyth County, definitely saw that smoke. Hopefully it wasn't causing too many problems. There was a code red issued for the Atlanta metro area due to health impacts from the smoke. That was in effect yesterday. So just to show, that even though it may have looked clear to you, other parts of the area were definitely impacted by smoke. The Rock Mountain wildfire that I mentioned earlier is also seen on this image, and did affect parts of northeast Georgia with a northwest wind. On the left side of the screen, this is also from that web page that I showed earlier on the Rough Ridge Fire. They produce these forecasts and weather conditions about once a day, and even on weekends, as I understand. So you want to check that out. For those cities that are listed there on the left in the middle of the screen, that's good information. So if you weren't aware of that, go to that web page that I linked a few slides ago for the Rough Ridge Fire, and you'll see these forecasts on that page. So one thing you'll notice about the forecast for tomorrow, the air quality index is looking good for a lot of these cities. And that's because south winds. We're expecting some southeast and south winds to blow the smoke to the north. Not good news for Tennessee, but better news for Georgia. Unfortunately, it's going to be temporary. We're going to have another cold front come through on Saturday that's going to cool things off and make it quite windy. But the winds are going to come back out of the northwest again. So here's what we're looking like this morning. This was at 9:45 this morning. You can see the smoke plumes from the two fires, the Rock Mountain, the one in Clayton County, and the one here in Rough Ridge. So that's what it looked like this morning. They're blowing with the prevailing winds, and they're quite light, but above the ground they're a little stronger. So you can get, even with calm winds, you'll see the smoke plumes move further down as the smoke goes up higher into the atmosphere. It's carried by the winds that are stronger aloft. So here's kind of a look at where the winds are blowing from as of 9:45 or 10 a.m. That circular area there in eastern Alabama and western Georgia, that's high pressure. This is high pressure at the surface. Very stable conditions and light winds, because what's going to happen is that the high pressure slides east, and the forecast for 7 p.m. that high is going to come directly over the Atlanta area, and winds should go pretty much calm. So any smoke that's in the air may linger around that's near the ground, but the plumes will continue kind of blowing off from the west-northwest towards east-southeast. So, maybe the Atlanta metro area should be spared from a lot of smoke impacts today compared to yesterday, and especially on Monday. The Southeast U.S. Hazards Outlook, this is from our meteorologists that work in the National Weather Service in Camp Springs, Maryland at National Center for Environmental Prediction. This Hazards Outlook was made yesterday, but it's still valid. It's showing two areas. One is for much below normal temperatures on the 21st, but that's probably going to occur in the morning, not really super cold this weekend or Sunday or Monday, but definitely below normal, especially on Saturday and Sunday. The high winds that are indicated in the area too, it looks like it's going to be mainly on Saturday. Here's a slide that shows what the high temperatures are expected to be on Saturday and the peak wind gusts. Pretty windy. Winds probably turning to 30 miles per hour, and that might go up a little higher than that in the mountains. We have some yellow areas that could be gusty. So where there's fires at the top of the ridge, even though they burned out a lot of the fuels, there may be spots in other ridge tops that haven't quite had the fire. They may get a little more active on Saturday, even with the cooler temperatures. Rainfall, not good news here. This is a 24-hour forecast. It's valid mainly for Friday night, so there's a little bit of chance for some light rain. This is not much. Unfortunately, that's the best we can do. Less than 1/10 of an inch is that lightest shade of green, maybe northwest Georgia. Beyond that, it's really not much. In fact, that area of darker green is mainly confined to that Friday night period as best as we can tell. So no other real significant chances of rain seen in the next 7 days. The drought update, what you're looking at here is a percent of normal of how much rain we should have had over the last 90 days. That's not a week or a month. That's actually 3 months. If you look carefully near Rome and Floyd County and Haralson County, those areas are in darker red. That's less than 10% of normal for the 90-day period. And where the rain occurred, where it was above normal, was where we had Hurricane Matthew. When you look at the last 30 days, it's even worse. It's all red, and that's because we didn't have any rain in the last 30 days for these areas without color shown on the right. So we could definitely use the rain. Drought Monitor, this is the impacts when you start adding up the lack of rainfall, the evaporation that happens on the ground from the sun and the heating and the wind. So what you're seeing here is the latest forecast, or the latest conditions as of November 16th. And that area has expanded a little bit. You'll see in northeast Georgia that there's a larger area now in this exceptional drought, the D4 category. And the D3, the extreme drought, has pretty much covered all of west central Georgia, all of north Georgia, and pushing hard into middle Georgia now. It's now into the Macon area. So past the Macon area is now seeing the extreme drought, the third category. And you can look at the table on the right to see the aerial extent, how that's changed in the last week and last few months. This is another chart that we can look at mainly for northwest Georgia just to show how unusual this is. That dark red on the far right is the percent of the area covered by the exceptional drought, and it is pretty much at 100% now. So for that northwest Georgia climate area, This rivals the drought that we saw in 2007 and early 2008. So in summary, mostly dry in the next 7 days. We could see a small chance of rain Friday night for the most part in northwest Georgia, and any rain amounts will be less than a quarter inch, unfortunately. Drought conditions will continue to slowly expand. I don't have it on the screen here, but we are going to see a cold front come through Saturday, early Saturday, and cool things off quite a bit with highs struggling to get to 60 degrees or in the 60s over a lot of North Georgia. A little warmer. It may warm up just before the front hits on Saturday in middle Georgia and southeast Georgia. But unfortunately, no rain, so the drought conditions are going to slowly expand. So with that, that's the end of our briefing. And thanks for attending. We'll see you on Tuesday. We're going to do our next weekly briefing on Tuesday for the holidays and give people sort of an advanced forecast for the holiday weekend, that Thanksgiving period. Thanks a lot. We'll see you then.